Hello YouTube. I am back with a mini tutorial and today I will show you how to read a Parquet file. So it's spelled as P-A-R-Q-U-E-T. So let's jump into Parquet. So I came across this data type when while competing in this Kaggle challenge. It's called Google American Sign Language Finger Spelling Recognition. So basically, you have to track the landmarks on the fingers, and you have to figure out what letter you are trying to say using your finger spelling, like you do in American Sign Language. And this challenge has been pretty interesting so far. And I will make a separate video or maybe a series of videos explaining how I submitted my uh, code on this challenge. But before that, I wanted to make this a mini tutorial. So this tutorial is mainly about how to read the Parquet data type. So if you see here in the training landmarks, you will see that you have these data types called Parquet, and it turns out it's an Apache data type. So Apache Parquet is an open source column-oriented data file format designed for efficient data storage and retrieval, which is interesting. Never heard of it before, so something new to work with. Excited about it. And some of the good features of Parquet is free and open source file format, language agnostic column-based format, and all that good stuff. So since it's a new data type for me, I immediately searched for how to read, because it seems like it's column oriented, which means it should be a tabular format. So with a little bit of Google search, it turns out you can actually convert a Parquet file into a um, data frame from pandas. So what I did was, okay, so that I kept it in my ASL folder, and you know what, let's just VS Code. What is happening? There you go. Okay, so this is a part of the project that I'm working on for the ASL, but for now, just look at where the file is. So I'm keeping it inside data. So the whole data set is massive. It's probably close to 150 gigs, I think. Yeah, 169 with compress in a compressed format. So yeah, it's pretty huge. But I downloaded this Parquet file separately, and it's close to 1.5 gigs, I think. Yep, there you go. And what I did with this one is that because I wanted to make sure that the file name, this number, and it has to do with the data set they gave us, to make sure that the file name, the number matches the CSV file that I'm going to generate with pandas. I sort of hard coded this value, but of course, when while submission, I have to change it to um, a different format. I cannot hard code a value while submitting. Anyway, so give it a file path, and then I wrote this read Parquet, and forget about everything else for now, because these I'll explain all these later in a video I'll make later sometime. So for now, we just worry about this read Parquet file and write Parquet to CSV format. So inside read Parquet file, we pass the file path, then we create a variable called table, and you can create PQ. So what is this PQ? So it turns out there is this library in Python called PyArrow, and you can read Parquet file using this PyArrow library. So you have to install it using pip install. So it's pip install PyArrow, as simple as that, and you are done. And once you have installed it, you import it. You import pyarrow.parquet.spq, and of course for this one you need pandas as well. I just realized I have duplicate pandas. Interesting. And what you do with this one is that if you can read the Parquet file, then you return the table in a PQ table format, the PyArrow table format. And if you can't read it, then you throw an exception, which is pretty standard. Once you have the Parquet table format, you call the this function to create the CSV file. And here in line number 22, what I did is that I just call this read Parquet file. So the Parquet underscore table is basically your Parquet table, which comes from PQ. So for this one, this write Parquet to CSV file, what I did is that if the file exists, then print the schema and some example of the Parquet file, even though you don't have to print anything. I'd recommend if you don't print anything, because it will flood your screen with a huge amount of shit, because it's huge, it's a massive file. So what I'm gonna do is, just to show you, I'm gonna just comment out everything here, and I'll just explain this portion. So what I'm doing here is that passing the Parquet file, and if the Parquet file exists, then reading the schema, and Parquet comes with a schema, and you can call it with Parquet schema dot schema, sorry, Parquet table dot schema. And once you are done with that, you can write Parquet table dot to pandas, which will create a pandas table, which is why I have named this variable pandas underscore table. And once you have a pandas table, which is basically a data frame, you can save it in a CSV format. And I just realized that this code should fail because I didn't mention a file ID here. So you can create a global variable with file ID, and I don't want to do that because I have to remove it anyway. I cannot hardcode a file value just to rename a file. I have to find a different way to create separate files for this. But anyway, so if we want to call it, what we will do is write Parquet to CSV. What am I doing? Write Parquet to CSV, and you have Parquet table, comma, file ID. There you go. And to run, let's run this one. Actually, you know what? I have another file. Maybe try this one. Okay, and the value is 103 the value is 103.11.0484. So let's run this one and see what happens. Ideally, it should create a CSV file inside the folder CSV files called 1032110484.csv. So let's try this one. And I'm inside ASL cd codes Python data parser. And there is a problem. It says, oh, I have to fix this one. File underscore ID. My bad. Okay, let's try now. Oh, there you go. So a bunch of stuff here, and it says cannot save non-existent. So maybe I messed up the directory. Yep, I did. So just to see where I messed up the file path, you can do this, because now I'm inside codes. I should do dot dot outside and then inside data. Okay, let's run it one more time. There you go, perfect. So now our code is running. The change I made here is if you do one dot, it means that it's expecting a folder inside the current folder, but if you do double dot, it gets out of the current folder and then tries to look for the other directory. So yeah, and as you can see, this is a massive schema. So it says Parquet schema, and these are the field names or attributes or column names. So it starts with frame, which is int 16. Then you have the landmarks for faces, which is of course stored as float. Then you have landmarks for right hand, face again, then body pose. And because all these landmarks come from media pipe, and I will get into the details of how media pipe works and all that stuff later. For now, just go with the fact that it's just a massive table with floats in it for all the poses, all the landmarks of the body, face, fingers of both hands. And we are storing the X, Y, Z coordinate for each landmark. And there are a lot of them. So the table gets bigger and bigger. And finally, you have the schema metadata, which shows that the file is a pandas file, and the index column is sequence ID. And it is still running, and usually it takes around 1 to 2 minutes to run the whole thing. So we will wait until it is done. So, and it's just finished, thank God. And let's look inside what we have. So let's look into 103211.csv, and it says, oh geez, it says the file is not displayed in the text editor because it is very large, 2.76 gigs. And right out of the gate, you can see that the Parquet file was 1.5 gigs, and when you store it in a CSV format, it's almost double. So that's a problem, which is why if you can work with a Parquet file, better to do that. In my case, I chose not to because I'm gonna strip off most of the stuff anyway and delete all the these big files to save some space on my computer and make it memory and computationally efficient. So that's what I'm working on currently. But if you want to look at this massive CSV file, just open it here anyway, and you will be able to see the CSV file here on VS Code. So here it is, and most of the stuff is actually hidden because there's so many of them. and the number of rows just keep going and going and going. So massive, and most of it is hidden, which is the craziest part. So that is your CSV file created from a Parquet file, Apache Parquet file. So in the future tutorial, I'll explain in details how I chose to work with this Parquet file, and I'm working with another team member to submit this ASL challenge, and we have been working hard on submission. So I'll make a whole other tutorial on how we approach the problem and submitted our version of ASL finger spelling using computer vision. So see you on the next one. Bye bye.